Well, hello there. I told you that what Kevin Johnson told us, which is that he will not be signing any players this January, was kept because now it's been reported, not by Latuma, who we don't trust, but it's been reported by Itiski Times that Kaizer Chiefs are indeed looking to sign one Keletso Makgalwa who's been playing for Mamelodi Sundowns, but then we're going to go through his teams that he played for and why he wasn't successful, and whether or not this makes sense as a transfer for Kaizer Chiefs. And we're also going to talk about the what's this thing? The effect of one left back leaving and another left back arriving at Amazulu, because the situation that's happening over there might affect what's going to end up ultimately happening at Kaizer Chiefs. Now, let's start with Keletso, and I will bring my notes here. So, Keletso 2021-2022 season, Sundowns loans him out to Moroka Swallows. And at the time, you'd think that if you are loaned to Moroka Swallows, where they were at that time, you'd expect him to go out there and play every single game. Did he? No, of course he didn't. And what ended up happening is that the following season, he was loaned out to TS Galaxy, where he stayed for half the season, didn't finish the season, and then he moved on to, guess who? All Stars in the second half of the season. And then after that season, which was the beginning of the season, the 2023-2024 season, Sundowns finally released him. And then after releasing him, what happened with him is that he went to play for Uppington City, and they're currently in the NFD. And his stats are as follows right now this season: 10 games, 4 games, and 3 assists. Not bad, right? You'd think. But my question is, obviously, why buy a player who clearly struggled to adapt and play for Sundowns? And not just for Sundowns, but for other PSL teams as well. Because we're not just talking about Mamelodi Sundowns, but we're talking about TS Galaxy, we're talking about Morekwa Swallows. He did not do well in those teams, and they're all in the PSL, and now he's playing in the NFD, which to me feels like a big fish in a small pond type of thing. And then now he's going to come to the PSL and play for Kaizer Chiefs, the biggest club in South African football. I would even argue that as much as Mamelodi Sundowns have been winning and have been doing much better than Kaizer Chiefs have, but there's still more pressure of playing for Kaizer Chiefs compared to playing for Sundowns. Reason being, we have more fans. Number two, there's higher expectation, even though we haven't won anything in 8 years. But that just amplifies my point, because that means since we haven't won anything, whenever there's someone new who's coming to Chiefs, we then want that person to deliver even more. So I then question myself and say, if we're going to bring in a player just because they're doing well in the NFD, but they did not do well in the PSL, and they are 27, it's not like he's what? It's not like he's 21 and he's growing and he still needs to develop, which in any case wouldn't make sense for why he would come to Chiefs, because Chiefs needs players who are fully developed. Because if you're still growing at Kaizer Chiefs, we've seen that it doesn't really end well for the people who are coming to Chiefs and saying, oh, I'm still growing, I'm still a youngster. So for me, that's the whole thing. And the other thing that I've been saying is this: if Kaizer Chiefs want to sign a player, the system must already be sorted. Because right now, Chiefs are in preseason. They started already. And Kevin Johnson has been telling us about how much time he needs. He needs time to sort out the squad. So if he needs time to sort out the squad, why does he need a new player then? Because if he's confident with the squad that he says, to a point where he even goes out to an interview and he says, we don't need any signings this January, which means I'm fine with the people that I have, which again, we know that it's not really something that he could have meant, because the club could have just said, you know what, we'll see. And then he wasn't going to say, yeah, we're definitely going to sign people, and then only for the club to not sign the people, and then it's contradicting the team. It's better for Chiefs to come across as people who actually said, oh, you know what, Kevin, we know you don't want any player, but we actually want you to get Makgalwa. So that actually does make sense, in the sense that Kaizer Chiefs are the team that they are, who always want to come across as heroes. But that's okay. That's okay. I'm just interested to hear what you guys have to say about this, because it's not only the fact that it's coming to Chiefs, but according to Diski Times, who are the ones who reported this thing, they are saying that this deal could happen within this week, within a week. if Chiefs and Uppington City come to an agreement. He's just joined them, which means it's going to be some money that they're going to get. And I know someone will say, but these guys are fighting to get promoted. Why would they sell this player? But if Chiefs come across and they say, you know what, we're offering you 2 million. That's a lot of money for a team that is in NFT. So they're going to take that money. And if Makgalwa ends up coming to Chiefs and performing, which he can absolutely do because he has played for Sundowns. You don't just go and play for Sundowns if you were not a good enough player in the first place. So I do think that there could be some positive, but I am more skeptical with this move because of the fact that he did not do the things when he was playing for Sundowns as such, and not just Sundowns, but also TS Galaxy, but also Swallows. So that kind of gets me worried. And the other thing about him is obviously that Sekukune and who's the other team? Richards Bay also want him. But right now, the report is suggesting that the main team, the main front runners in this whole thing, it's Kaizer Chiefs who are actually in a position whereby they might sign him. Also, while we're at it, before we talk about the left back situation, I subscribing. Let's just like the video at this very moment. It just, And now let's talk about Mabiliso. Spusiso Mabiliso came and played for Chiefs and went back to Amazulu and now has been released by Amazulu. Moments after that, well, it was just a chain of events. And then Usfiso Ngobeni, Mamelodi Sundowns left back, by the way, because they don't need left backs. They have a lot of them, but they still want Pasadine. Anyways, Sfiso Ngobeni has signed a deal with Amazulu, which means he's going to be joining Amazulu on a loan for the remainder of the season. Now, there are two ways of looking at this. Amazulu have just released Mabiliso, so they needed a replacement. But I don't think Sfiso Ngobeni moves from Sundowns to go and sit on the bench at Amazulu. There could be someone who's going to say, no, he's moving from Sundowns to Amazulu and he knows he can fight for his place against Rian Hanamub. To which I say, not really. It doesn't make any sense because Rian Hanamub, I made a video a few days ago about the fact that this season alone, he's in the top 5 players who have created more chances. So there is no way that you are going to take a scheme from that guy. It's clear that he's a starter and someone will say, Mpilo, but it's AFCON. No, AFCON has nothing to do with it because the PSL is closed. So it's not like they need Ngobeni while Hanamub is away with his country. So to me, and I'm hoping, because there's also Mdaga who was somewhere around Amazulu, or I said auditioning, he was there around Amazulu, kind of trialing to become their next left back. So to me, it does look like Hanamub might just be on his way out of Amazulu, and that could only be good news for Kaizer Chiefs because that means we are getting the left back that we wanted. So I will keep an eye on this because his contract to Hanamub expires this June. Amazulu do have an option to extend by a further year. But these things happen. We can negotiate something, especially if he's told the club that if we're entering into the final year of my contract, I will not be renewing it. And then they're like, wow, kind of put in a corner. So let's prepare with someone so that if we're impressed with Ngobeni in the next 6 months, then we can let Rian Hanamub go. On the other hand, alternatively, it could just be that they know that Hanamub is actually leaving and they're bringing in a competent left back who can actually take the position should they decide to sell Hanamub to Kaizer Chiefs this January. But what do you think about Makgalwa coming to Kaizer Chiefs? I know I might be wrong and I might have approached this video in a negative sense. I am just not the person who gets excited by signings anymore because I know that they don't necessarily always hit the ground running. And no one is hitting the ground running at Chiefs right now because the system is just not conducive yet. Maybe in 6 months' time, Kevin Johnson would have sorted everything out. Then we can bring in more players. But right now, if we're still struggling to make 5 passes that are convincing, then I don't think we should be signing any players. Number 2, do you think Rian Hanamub will end up coming to Kaizer Chiefs given these developments in their left back positions? Well, let me know down on the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, remember, equals Alpelumo.